Welcome to the Scandinavian Mind podcast, our weekly show about how technology is changing the creative industries. Today on the program, we look at the rise of creativity in Oslo. Coming off the heels of the big event in Copenhagen last week, a smaller fashion week in Norway took place this week. Oslo Runway is 3 days of shows, exhibitions, and other forms of fashion expressions, not including the off-schedule events. Today we'll hear from 4 voices inside the Norwegian fashion scene. Sunniva Hartgen is the head of fashion at Oslo Runway. Cathrine Boerter is founder of Pearl Octopussy, the hottest brand in Norway right now, I'm told. Hilde Pettersen Reljin is the co-founder of Collective Oslo, which hosted several shows of up-and-coming designers. And lastly, Kyrre Alver, founder of the renowned Blender agency. Together with these people, and in this episode, we'll discuss where does this new wave of creativity come from, the role for Norway in the Nordic fashion ecosystem, and the rise of locally produced wool. My name is Konrad Olsson, editor-in-chief and founder of Scandinavian Mind, and with me is my dear colleague Johan Magnusson, who was our man on the ground in Oslo this week. How are you, Johan?
Yeah, or you perhaps can call me a Fashion Week correspondent now. After Helsinki in May, the Fashion Week there, and our transformation conference, and Copenhagen last week, and now right back from Oslo Runway. It's a pity we don't have a Fashion Week right now in Stockholm.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll talk about this Fashion Week landscape as you just described. But speaking of transformation conference, and before we get into everything in Oslo, are you excited about the Stockholm edition of Transformation Conference?
Yeah, definitely. Helsinki was really good, super inspiring, great feedback. So let's see what Stockholm holds.
I'm super excited. So we're now less than 2 weeks away from the Stockholm edition of Transformation Conference. It's going to take place at Nordic Fabric Fair, which is it's at the Stockholm Fashion District, just outside of Stockholm. I'm super excited. I'm getting nervous. I'm emailing with speakers about all things, both practical and content-wise. Just been confirming with Mauro Scaglia, which is the head of Eurotex. He was with us in Helsinki and gave an update on what's happening on the legislation side for fashion. He will come back to Stockholm, and there's actually been quite a lot of activity on this topic during the summer. So it's going to be great to get an update from him about what's happening in the EU around fashion legislation. So if you're interested in that, also if you're interested in networking with people from within the fashion industry, but also from tech entrepreneurs, startup people that are going into fashion with perhaps a different eye, as well as investors who are funding some of the new innovations and technologies that we are covering on this week. Do sign up for a Transformation Conference. There's still a few seats left for people who want to be present physically. It's August 31st at Nordic Fabric Fair. So visit scandinavianmind.com/transconf. I just wanted to get that in there before we dive into this episode.
And it's completely free.
It's completely free of charge. That's true. All right, Johan, Oslo Runway. Let's talk a little bit about what this is and how this has changed the past few years. I remember just a few years ago, this was a very minimal event with very little shows and to be honest, very little relevancy in the whole of the Nordic scene. But something has happened the past couple of seasons, and this week seemed very action packed. What are your impressions coming off the Oslo Runway this week?
It's growing and growing, and it's an annual event, so not seasonal. So they have it once a year, and I think that's pretty good, pretty modern. We don't need fashion weeks all over the year, all over the calendar. The calendar is massive as it is. And as I said, it's growing. They have a bunch of up and coming names, and also a few ones that's made themselves names way out of Norway. So a few very established ones. Of course, they have the heritage brands, the sportwear, outerwear. We all know Helly Hansen, Norröna, but Now we have Holzweiler, we have Envelope 1976, who showed at the official schedule, and a bunch of exciting new names coming up. And the point of this event, the CEO Elin Karlsson stated, is that otherwise perhaps the local talents would be joining like the big corporations. For instance, like the fashion chains, instead of building their own brand. So this is a super important event in order to nurture and take care of local talent and help them to grow. And they're super supportive, both the organization but also like the industry. All of a sudden, the local customers they've started buying Norwegian fashion. So that of course helps the local talents and the emerging brands.
And what would your impression be of the status of Oslo, Norway on the international stage, or at least the Nordic stage? I mean, you were there participating as a journalist reporting from the fair. Were there other international journalists in place? Are people talking about this outside of Norway?
We were a group of around 20 international journalists looking at all the shows and presentations, which, by the way, took place in various different formats. We had representatives from several of the Vogue magazines. We had Forbes, we had Hypebae, and also, of course, the local press showed up. We were spending a lot of time with the representatives from Vogue Scandinavia because they're official partner with the event. When I go to trips like this, the international press they tend to complain a lot, like the lack of creativity, the lack of level of what we see on the runway. But here, I don't know if it was the particular journalists that were particularly positive, but here it was a great atmosphere and we had a great time.
Good to hear. Good to hear. So let's dive into your impressions and your reporting from the ground. We have 3 interviews we're going to get into in this episode, starting with Sunniva Hartgen, who is the head of fashion, one of the organizers of Oslo Runway. Why did you decide to speak to Sunniva?
She's brand new in this position, and she used to be a stylist, so she has the international, a fashion stylist, so she has the international perspective. And now she's sort of come home in order to, as she will mention in the interview, help those local talents to grow into hopefully an international level outside of Norway.
All right, let's hear it. This is Sunniva Hartgen, head of fashion of Oslo Runway.
So I joined the organization because I thought there was missing like this bigger focus on new talents. I wanted more of the new talents, so that's why we have Next this season.
How do you want to stand out as a fashion event? You're the leading one in Norway, but
we're the only fashion arena in Norway. We want to stand out with the wide range of design, fashion design here. So we have a lot now, and earlier as well. We've had a lot of focus on new talents, but now we have I would say even more focus on new talents. But the wide range is important to us, so the established brands as well is just as important, you know. So we need to showcase all the width, and we actually have a lot to show, you know, and a lot of different types of designers. So
you have wool, the material, literally like in your DNA.
Yeah.
What else is Norwegian fashion now in 2023?
What we're focusing on is showing the real identity of the brands. We're not trying to put them in places they don't belong. Having if a brand like Cathrine Boerter, which is scaling down. It's not right to put her in a runway typical show. So we want to show the different type of identities. Show people who they are. So we're as I said in my little speech yesterday, we're trying to know on Monday. Yeah. we're really working with our hearts and like all. We're trying to also like put that spread like the heartwarming type of work, you know, like with the whole identity. It's really important. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
And we were all invited to Cathrine Hammel's own personal private home.
Yeah.
And the week has shown quite broadness when it comes to locations.
Yeah.
And the uniqueness of the city.
Yeah. So we're trying to like show you the whole of the city and choose like different locations which complements the brands. Yeah. They're all like, all the locations are really like specified to the brands. So yeah, it's important to like all showing the identity in the whole setup.
Is it also important, of course, for like to get the exposure, but is it also important business-wise to be a part of it?
Yeah, of course. You know, is why like you're here. so of course we try to get the attention. Like Norwegian fashion is really growing and get it out there and show you what we're working on all the time. And you know, we have the fashion research library that came up last year, and we have a lot of like things happening in the Norwegian fashion scene which are really like unique to us and also to the world. So yeah, we're trying to like share because we love fashion too, you know.
I made a lot of interviews this week, and what I usually ask people is I think it's a new wave of Norwegian creativity.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I think like post-COVID, you know, it's everybody mentions it, but it's like this new energy, this new drive. Like everybody just wants to come out of their shells, sort of. I think we're not trying to be somebody else. We're just owning our own story. And trying to share that story to you guys and to the world, and like we're confident having our own voice.
That was Sunniva Hartgen, head of fashion of Oslo Runway. All right, so I'm really curious about Pearl Octopus. This is the brand people are talking about. It's been popping up in my Instagram feed during the week. You've spoken to one of the founders, Cathrine. Talk about what this is.
First of all, we need to change the brand name. So it's actually Pearl Octopussy. So it's a bit, kind of a special name of the brand, which of course means that she gets a lot of attention right before you see the actual collection. We met a year ago. I was at Oslo Runway a year ago, and then she was a part of the special jewelry lounge. And the international press, they gathered around her because she has a very, very special aesthetics. And already back then, she had made herself a name, and she was back then already available at a few of the leading retailers. And now she's just continued to grow. And also it started with jewelry, very maximalistic jewelry, but this time she showed a runway show, which also included like reconditioned secondhand vintage suits. So and they're available. She had put her jewelry on these suits, and they're available to buy for retailers, but they're quite limited demand or limited availability, and the demand is huge.
Like many new starting emerging talents from the Nordics, they are also betting on upcycling, which is really exciting. So let's hear it from Cathrine Boerter, founder of Pearl Octopussy.
What have you just seen on the runway? It was spectacular.
Thank you.
What did you show?
We showed basically very like the core universe that Pearl Octopussy is, like how jewelry is the main course in an outfit, or can be. it's like Pearl Octopussy is like a styling brand, but it's also more than that. It's like a universe that expands to clothing, shoes, accessories, bags, everything. So no, we want to really show that you don't have to have like a full clothing line to do a show. It can be even though we made all the clothes, but yeah. No.
Mesmerizing anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah. I spoke to like your not colleagues, but someone you work with. They said that you decided to show 2 weeks ago. Is that true?
Yeah. Well, we
and
did
you
like
did this.
Yeah, we did line up for Oslo Runway a while back, and then we've been going back and forth for a long time because we have a lot to do, and we didn't want to do it if we didn't feel like we could like really like pull it through, and to have like a message. And we called the collection At Dawn because the song is called At Dawn, but also like it's what happens at dawn, you know. It's the magical hours. Yeah.
You're now available through a bunch of the world's leading retailers. What have those years been? What are the keys to success?
I think like authenticity has been really important. Just the love of making, like that's like the main, like the core love that drives it. It's so much work and it's hard work, but it's so much fun. And like even now, like I spoke to my best friend. He was like, "Oh, I could like feel the anxiety from the back room." And I was like, "No, it wasn't. Like it was just like we were just like working. We're very." So I don't know. Now I was like walking past my question, but
can you put pearls everywhere on your body or your outfit?
I think so. Yeah. I think it's like for me it's like the balance of it's like the contrast that's exciting. Something really clean, simple, paired with something super maximal, and that's why we also like really love this space because you have like the interior inside, which is like maximal and over the top and messy, which is also a part of Pearl Octopussy, and then you come in here, which is like sober and clean and just balanced, and it's like those two environments really work so well together. So yeah, I do think that you can put pearls anywhere. You just have to kind of where and how many.
I was here a year ago and I was mesmerized by the level and the quality.
Yeah.
It seems like it's a new wave of Norwegian creativity. Do you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
What's the reason?
I don't know.
What's in the water?
It's just I feel like we're not afraid anymore. Like I feel like now like we have nothing to lose. Like it's just it feels like when you're not afraid anymore, and it's just like very liberating, very freeing. So I think like the Norwegian fashion feels freer, and like we encourage each other, and it feels like more inspiring and more that there are possibilities. Like with like not so many years ago, I would have never imagined to be at Net-a-Porter or Matches or Essence or Moda Parande. It's like it's crazy, and then now I feel like people are more into design, and yeah, we've just been like a leap behind, but now more.
Can you help each other as well? The fashion industry is not so good at collaborating, but
No.
This is a smaller industry. Are you good at collaborating?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's still. I think it's like divided. You know, you have friends, but you also have like a business, and you have to protect that. But it's also important that the people that you meet up the mountain, you also will meet down. You know, I think it's. I think that people are very like polite and respectful to each other, and there's no like people. And also, I think that if one brand makes it like internationally, it's good for the rest of the Norwegian business. So I think like we, instead of like, like climbing on each other and then not like being one and one on the ladder, but like helping each other up. So
I have two more questions. How would you describe your design aesthetics?
I think it's like, I mean, it's obviously like maximal, but it's also in a minimal, I try to keep it in a minimal context because it's not cluttery. It's very like clear. It has to be like big and bold and not, yeah, it's like an organic, fun, universe, I guess.
And what are your next steps? Do you have any fun projects coming up? Collaborations?
Well, that's why we wanted to do some clothing as well, because we are working on some clothing, but very limited. Like we want to just do like a few jackets, a few skirts that we showed here, to kind of combine like with the jewelry that we really love. But basically, it's more like the love of styling and just keep on, you know, showing how you can just elevate your wardrobe and your staple wardrobe with really, ooh.
And your agents told me that as soon as they get it, it's out of their office.
Yeah.
The buyers are like crazy.
Yeah, it's been like an amazing response, but I think it's because it is like sparkly, girly, but it's also like beautiful to have. Like some of the pieces are like nice interior pieces, you know, like you can have, they're very like visual, they're very photogenic, and you don't need anything else than like a suit or a blazer, and then, yeah, so.
And you also show Unipearl, I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's also, you know, wanted to kind of make the crossover with, like, fuck, there's no rules, like, it's fun to like break the boundaries and just be a little bit like punk, you know, like. So yeah.
All right, that was Cathrine, one of the founders of Pearl Octopussy. But there were other up-and-coming brands and designers visiting and exhibiting during Oslo Runway. There was one concept called Collective Oslo that you met and experienced. Talk about you. This was a collection of shows and exhibitions. Describe what Collective Oslo does.
They had almost like a full day of events, and it included panel talks and fashion shows, and also like a digital fashion show with the Monnews, the launch of the local the digital fashion initiative Monnews. And Collective Oslo is an art and fashion collective, and they're very good in collaborating, both and like gathering local talents, but also teaming up with local and international big industry players in order to help the local creativity take the next step.
Can you give some examples of these collaborations, how the industry is coming together to support these up-and-coming designers?
They had like half a year ago, a little bit more than half a year ago, they gathered a bunch of local creators. I think it was on a castle right outside of Oslo, and they opened it as a huge exhibition, which we also covered at Scandinavianmind.com. And she will also team up. They hope to team up with a very, very big industry player later this fall. So we might have a reason to get back to Collective Oslo online later on, like in a few months from now.
All right, good stuff. Let's hear it from Hilde Pettersen Reljin, co-founder of Collective Oslo.
So the program today was we did a talk because we feel that a lot of people are really interested in tech but have no idea what it's about, and we wanted to do a very kind of easy, simple introduction. What is it? How do you use it? And now what? We had an amazing panel with some of the biggest leaders in Norway, like the Munch Museum, the former CEO of Meta Norway, and so on. Full house, was amazing. Was a little nervous about that, but we had a few hundred people in there, and it was like crammed, so amazing. At the same time, we had this generative art exhibition called Algorithms, with 5 international artists and 2 Norwegian. That was on the big 3D display in part of the location. Then we had the Edda Gimnish fashion show. This is Edda's first show in Norway. She's previously been at. She's the only Norwegian to be invited to the Met. To I think it was the Camp Note edition of in New York. She has been brought up at the National Museum. She's done her fashion shows out of London, so it's a really big honor to be able to show her in Norway. We collaborated with dancers. We had one of the prima ballerinas from the opera in Norway that we also managed to do this art film in the back that you saw. And then we had Monus. Monus is probably the only and the biggest NFT fashion brand out of Norway that actually has managed to do amazingly well commercially. They generate actually like quite a bit of income. So this is their launch into the Norwegian fashion world, because in a way they're a group of tech nerds creating, and we wanted to launch them. So that was the problem. Now it's the Monus party.
What's your view on fashion tech and digital fashion, and has it changed after today when you saw a full house? And is it bubbling here in Norway? Or?
It's very much bubbling. It's I think from like the Scandinavian countries, Norway is kind of behind as always. We're I think we're too few people. With the 2 people in Norway, it's hard to make anything fashion, anything to follow. But it's starting to come, and I mean the whole world. We are more digital than we know. It's so many things, and it's actually quite scary, but also really exciting. And we want to be on the forefront. We want to be one of the first. We want to be the first out. We always want to be the first out.
You're a very digital country, so the circumstances, they're quite good. So there's room for improvement, right?
Oh, totally. A lot of improvement. And we see that big companies, big artists are now looking towards Norway to collaborate. I think we have a really kind of unique style and ethic. I don't know how to say it, but maybe we're a little bit nerdy, the country. And but we're learning to become commercial. We're learning to use the tools.
And the fashion industry obviously needs to collaborate way more than it does, and we'll see a lot of progress with that in the next few years. A lot of people say. What's the way forward? What have you learned from working together as a collective and connectivity?
We're learning every single day. We are in contact with some really interesting international tech brands and companies to help further our view. For now, it's a secret. We can't really talk about it, but it's a big thing. I think our take is to, always be in the front, always look for the new. And the way we're leading our lives, we're leading our lives more on our phone than physically sometimes. Like we go through meetings, we sit on the couch talking, but we're actually kind of on our phone. So I think the world is kind of like, we are much further than we think we are. But we're also so naive that we're not using all the tools that we have. And that's what we are, researching and digging into and finding.
What can be improved?
What can be improved?
Yeah.
I think everything. One of the companies that we have dialogue with now, every second month we have a meeting. They're like, forget the IE from 2 months ago. Now it's something completely new. It goes so incredibly fast. And all the meetings we have, I have to do so much research to even be able to keep up and to see the progress, because the speed is so incredibly rapid.
I was here 1 year ago. I was amazed by the level. I was so surprised, so I have very high expectations this year. It seems like a new wave of Norwegian creativity coming. Do you agree?
Totally. In the art world, you see it more. The art world is much more further ahead, and like one of the Tominga, that was one in the panel from the Munch Museum today. Hearing her talk about projects that they're planning ahead, how they're incorporating tech into art is amazing. So the art world is very much like far ahead of the rest. Fashion is coming slowly, and we also heard from 2 brands today that have incorporated 3D animations, i.e. And how they're using the tools and creativity to enhance their campaigns. And it's really interesting to kind of hear the dialogue between the companies that actually know nothing about tech, but they take the chance. And then when it works,
You got to start somewhere.
Amazing.
And what's the reason for so many new names coming up at the same time from Norway?
I think the schools, there are a lot of hubs and people, clusters and hubs. Collective is definitely a hub. We have a huge following that just follow us everywhere around everything we do. And we do a lot of underground things. And I think people are looking for the new. And it's kind of like people are waking up a little bit too. It's like there is like this anger in the world. We are like, we're not satisfied. There's so much, there's war, there's, the politics. It's like you need something. With anger comes creativity. With motion comes creativity. And I think we're in a stage in the world right now.
Yeah, let's hope that togetherness gets trendy.
Yes, definitely.
All right, that was Hilde Pettersen Reljin, co-founder of Collective Oslo. All right, so we have one more conversation to visit on the ground from Oslo in this episode. This is from Kyrre Alver, the founder of Blender Agency. So this is a renowned and almost legendary agency from Oslo. They've been around for years. So talk about, the kind of the insights that you got from talking to Kyrre this week, Johan.
They're celebrating their 20th anniversary this year. So he is one of the leading names in the industry in the region. And they've focused a lot on premium fashion. So they were like a trailblazer for bringing like more expensive fashion to the Nordics, you may say. So they've established themselves over the years and also started their own brands. So they're now the owner of 3 Norwegian brands, and they also acquired DM, the Italian footwear brand. So, and they've also entered the home and sports market. So they're actually Blender Group now with a bunch of initiatives, and the turnover just seemed to grow and grow, even in these challenging times, which I spoke to Kyrre about, the changing retail landscape.
All right, let's hear it from Kyrre Alver, founder of Blender Agency.
What have you learned throughout the years?
Be true to who we are. I think also, the last 5, 6, 7 years has been tougher for us because we've always been an international agency working with, more contemporary international brands. So we never, more or less never touch Scandinavian brands. So we work with, French, American, Japanese brands. That has always been our business model. And the last, I would say, 5, 6, 7 years, the Scandinavian brands did a comeback. So with, Ganni probably as the first, brand coming back after some years where, the market was, it was like, Helmut Lang and Iro, Isabel Marant, those kind of brands was, dominating the market. And then, the Scandinavian brands came back with, Ganni and Sine Goya and, the new generation. So, I think that's but we never was going for, cheaper brands, Scandinavian brands. We still kept our image and our strategy, being an international agency. So, and that has been a little bit challenging, but now we see that, everybody knows who we are and what we are standing for. So it's it's better times ahead.
Have the buyers' mentality changed as well over the years?
I think it's changing. They tend to buy, more expensive stuff and better qualities, and I think it's less traffic in the stores. So when you're buying cheaper brands, it's a wrong strategy. You need to buy. You need to sell more expensive stuff to the few accounts that is coming in. So yeah.
Have you changed your business as well, given this transition to online?
Not really, but we changed Blender back. We had a board meeting in 2015 where we did the decision to change Blender from being a fashion house till a more lifestyle-driven company, where we took a decision that we're gonna build Blender Sport and Blender Home as two new categories. And also we was focusing more on men's. So today, we have a very good sport business. Also the same with home and furniture. And then also we are much stronger on men's than we was, 7-8 years ago. So I think we are in a more healthy position today, from being, very, very big on women's wear, with Marc Jacobs and Alexander Wang and Marc Jacobs, Michael Kors and those very commercial American brands. Till more, we have a better balance in the company today.
I assume you travel a lot now after the pandemic as well. When you compare the other retail landscapes, is the Scandinavian one different?
It's so me and my ex-business partner, we have always been traveling a lot. So that has always, I think that's also why Blender got the position in the market, since we was always traveling, to LA, Tokyo, Seoul, New York, Paris. So we learn how to buy, who the best stores are, of course, and who the best buyers are. So we are always been good to read the market. So of course it was difficult when the pandemic, but we are back on track and traveling as back in the days. And I think it's very important to be out there and see what's happening. So yeah.
Do you follow retail trends as well? Do you have any retail trend to share?
Not really, but of course when we changed Blender from this fashion company to a more lifestyle company, that was because we saw how the retail was changing. That it was getting tougher with online, and you had to have a more interesting store. You need to inspire the end consumer. So we thought that we need to help the stores, changing, buying different categories and make the store more, cooler and more interesting. So that was a big trend, 6-7 years ago. But yeah.
You're a very international agency, and now you're part of the official schedule at Oslo Runway.
Yeah.
What's your view on the event? Why are you part of it?
No, it's of course important for us to support the Norwegian, fashion industry, because we are of course a big, company in the Norwegian market. So it's also important for us to give back to the community. So and also help the younger generation and give them advice and be there for them. So for us it's important to be here and support the Norwegian hub.
All right, that was Kyrre Alver, founder of Blender Agency, and our last interview from Oslo Runway this week. So, a lot of up and coming brands, but also a lot of activity in the industry in terms of, commercial success, growing businesses. do you have any reflections coming on at the end of this episode around sort of what the future of the Norwegian role in Nordic fashion will be, Johan?
Wool, the material wool, is almost literally in their DNA. The children are born with their parents or grandparents knitting their own clothes. And Norway was do it yourself before do it yourself was trendy, so to say. And in order to continue to grow, of course, it's very important with initiatives from the bigger industry players that they will be part of helping the local names, supporting in order for all of them to grow. And I believe, I strongly believe in the concept of just having a Fashion Week once a year. And I think we'll see more and more from Oslo in the years to come.
All right, good stuff. Thank you, Johan, for doing this reporting on the ground for Scandinavian Mind from Oslo Runway this week. So let's end with a couple of reminders. Lots going on in the world of Scandinavian Mind right now. We have Transformation coming up in less than 2 weeks on August 31st. Also, our Beauty Innovation Insights newsletter is pumping out content every week, and we'll also be announcing a few events taking place in Stockholm during fall. So if you're not signed up for that and want to get access to both the content and the invites to these events, sign up to Beauty Innovation. Visit scandinavianmind.com/beauty innovation. And why not also plug my own newsletter, which was launched just a couple of weeks ago. It's called Observations. It's a weekly column from me, Konrad Olsson, from kind of the inside look of what's happening with Scandinavian Mind and stuff that I'm thinking about and pondering in the world of technology, fashion, media, marketing, and more. So the content machine is pumping on full cylinders, or if that's even an analogy you can use these days in the era of electric vehicles. Johan, thank you so much for joining me this week. We'll talk more next week.